everyone, Corey here. Thanks for checking out my channel, Waterborne Camper. Hit that subscribe button for me if you haven't already. We just finished the month of May, and for me, May means dehydrating. If you spend any amount of time in the backcountry, whether it's kayaking, camping, hiking, whatever, you know that dehydrated food is the way to go. It's far more lightweight and way easier to transport. But if you're like me and you have digestive issues, sometimes finding stuff you can actually eat in stores is a bit of a problem. Personally, I have celiac disease as well as ulcerative colitis, which means I can't eat wheat, seeds, nuts, or corn, and if you know anything about buying dehydrated food in stores, at least one of those ingredients is in almost everything. Don't get me wrong, there are good store-bought dehydrated meals out there for people with digestive issues, and I do pick a few up each year because they're good to have in a pinch, but they do take up a lot of space. If you're going to be out for a long time, it's a lot easier to take a bunch of these than it is a bunch of these. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk you through exactly what I've done so far to build up this year's stockpile for camping season. I'm going to show you how I made all of this, and as I mentioned, this is all gluten-free, seed-free, nut-free, and corn-free. First, a real quick introduction to what dehydrating actually is, for those who don't know. Dehydrating food basically just means sucking all the moisture out of it. Once the moisture is all sucked out of your food, it's incredibly lightweight, and you can store it without having to worry about keeping it refrigerated. If you're interested in getting into dehydrating at home, this is what I use. This is a Gourmet 6-rack dehydrator. This works really well. This will set you back about $120 Canadian. So this is my chili. To make this, you're going to need 1 pound of lean ground beef, 1 package of Old El Paso chili seasoning, 1 can of diced tomatoes, and 2 cans of dark red kidney beans. Make sure the can says they're gluten-free. To make this, first I cook up my ground beef, then I mix in my chili seasoning. Next, mix in the contents of your diced tomatoes and 2 cans of red kidney beans, and then simmer until warm. Once that's finished, you're going to want to dehydrate that at 145 degrees for about 10 hours. Now here's where I'm going to get into a little trick I've learned. Certain things I've found are really hard to dehydrate, namely peppers, mushrooms, and sweet potatoes. So those 3 things I buy separate from a company called Harmony House. They have a great selection of dehydrated vegetables and other foods. Check them out if you haven't already. Once your chili's fully dehydrated, you can split that into serving sizes in Ziploc baggies and mix in some peppers and mushrooms for flavor. A good trick to test if things are fully dehydrated or not: stick a small piece of your dehydrated food in a Ziploc baggie and seal it up. If any moisture accumulates inside the baggie, there's still moisture in your food, and it needs to be dehydrated a little longer. Also, a good trick for figuring out portion sizes before food is dehydrated is to pour it into mason jars. Once you know how many servings you have before food is dehydrated, it's pretty easy to divvy it up after it's dehydrated as well. Now all this will go right back to its normal state once you add some hot water and let it sit for a few minutes. Here's what the chili looks like once it's rehydrated. Up next, we've got pulled pork with black beans and red and green peppers. For this, I bought 8 pork chops to make 4 individual servings. I cooked the pork chops in a slow cooker with a mixture of gluten-free barbecue sauce and water until they were tender enough that I could pull them apart with a fork. I then dehydrated the pulled pork pieces along with some black beans at 140 degrees for 8 hours. Again, once this was done, I added some Harmony House peppers for flavor. So I can bring this along with some gluten-free fajitas and enjoy some pulled pork wraps. Now I dehydrated a lot of sausage for these remaining meals. I barbecued these, cut them into small pieces, and then dehydrated those at 145 degrees for about 10 hours. I then took some of that sausage and mixed it with some dehydrated celery and some Harmony House sweet potatoes. Up next is some spaghetti sauce. For this, I mixed up some gluten-free pasta sauce with a ½ pound of cooked ground beef. I then dehydrated that at 145 degrees for about 10 hours, then again mixed in some Harmony House mushrooms and peppers. I'll take this along with some gluten-free pasta. Next up, another type of pasta sauce. This one I made a little differently. I actually just laid out the uncooked pasta sauce on the trays and dehydrated it at 145 degrees for 12 hours. Once dehydrated, it sort of had the same texture as a fruit roll-up. I cut that into 4 pieces, mixed it with some dehydrated sausage, and a little bit of Harmony House peppers. I'll enjoy that with some penne pasta. And lastly, breakfast. For this meal, I scrambled some eggs in the microwave. If you don't know that trick, it's way less greasy than doing it in the frying pan. You just mix in a little bit of milk, stir it all up, and then keep microwaving it until you get a solid piece. Then you can break it up into scrambled eggs. I then dehydrated the eggs at 140 degrees for 10 hours, mixed in some of the sausage, some Harmony House peppers and mushrooms, and even some store-bought dehydrated shredded hash browns for a little bit of flavor. So that's it. That's my walkthrough of what I've done so far for dehydrated food prep for this year's paddling season. I probably will have to do a little bit more before the season's over, but it's nice to get a stockpile while the year's still young. Thanks for watching. Again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you found this video useful, and share it if you know someone else who might find it useful. I'll see you on the water real soon. Until I talk to you again, everyone stay safe and take care of yourselves and each other.